Part 2. Verily, he who is the day star of truth, and revealer of the Supreme Being, holdeth, for all time, undisputed sovereignty over all that is in heaven and on earth, though no man be found on earth to obey him. He verily is independent of all earthly dominion, though he be utterly destitute. Thus we reveal unto thee the mysteries of the cause of God, and bestow upon thee the gems of divine wisdom, that haply thou mayest soar on the wings of renunciation to those heights that are veiled from the eyes of men. A lot of people claim God power and all that stuff, and can't save their bodies, and can't a lot of stuff. The significance and essential purpose underlying these words is to reveal and demonstrate unto the pure in heart, the sanctified in spirit, that they who are luminaries of truth, and the mirrors reflecting the light of divine unity in whatever age and cycle they are sent down from their invisible habitations of ancient glory unto this world, to educate the souls of men and endue with grace all created things, are invariably endowed with an all-compelling power and invested with an invincible sovereignty. For these hidden gems, these concealed and invisible treasures, in themselves manifest and vindicate the reality of these holy words. Verily God doth whatsoever he willeth, and ordaineth whatsoever he pleaseth. To every discerning and illumined heart it is evident that God, the unknowable essence, the divine being, is immensely exalted beyond every human attribute, such as corporeal existence, ascent and descent, egress and regress. Far be it from his glory that human tongue should adequately recount his praise, or that human heart comprehend his fathomless mystery. He is and hath ever been veiled in the ancient eternity of his essence, and will remain in his reality everlastingly hidden from the sight of men. No vision taketh in him, but he taketh in all vision. He is the subtle, all-perceiving. See Al-Quran, Surah 3, 803. No tie of direct intercourse can possibly bind him to his creatures. He standeth exalted beyond and above all separation and union, all proximity and remoteness. No sign can indicate his presence or his absence, inasmuch as by a word of his command all that are in heaven and on earth have come to exist, and by his wish, which is the primal will itself, all have stepped out of utter nothingness into the realm of being, the world of the visible. Gracious God, how could there be conceived any existing relationship or possible connection between his word and they that are created of it? The verse, God would have you beware of himself, see Al-Quran, Surah 3, 28, unmistakably beareth witness to the reality of our argument, and the words, God was alone, and there was none else besides him, are a sure testimony of its truth. All the prophets of God, and their chosen ones, all the divines, the sages, and the wise of every generation, unanimously recognize their inability to attain unto the comprehension of that quintessence of all truth, and confess their incapacity to grasp him, who is the inmost reality of all things. The door of the knowledge of the Ancient of Days being thus closed in the face of all beings, the source of infinite grace, according to his saying, his grace hath transcended all things, my grace hath encompassed them all, hath caused those luminous gems of holiness to appear out of the realm of the Spirit in the noble form of the human temple, and be made manifest unto all men, that they may impart unto the world the mysteries of the unchangeable being, and tell of the subtleties of his imperishable essence. These sanctified mirrors, these daysprings of ancient glory, are one and all the exponents on earth of him who is the central orb of the universe, in essence and ultimate purpose. From him proceedeth their knowledge and power, From him is derived their sovereignty. This is what is meant by La ilaha illallah. The beauty of their countenance is but a reflection of his image, and their revelation a sign of his deathless glory. They are the treasuries of divine knowledge and the repositories of celestial wisdom. Through them is transmitted a grace that is infinite, and by them is revealed the light that can never fade. Even as he hath said, there is no distinction whatsoever between thee and them, except that they are thy servants, and are created of thee. This is the significance of that tradition. I am he himself, and he is I myself. The traditions and sayings that bear direct reference to our theme are diverse and manifold. We have refrained from quoting them for the sake of brevity. Nay, whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth is a direct evidence of the revelation within it of the attributes and names of God, inasmuch as within every atom are enshrined the signs that bear eloquent testimony to the revelation of that most great light. Methinks, but for the potency of that revelation, no being could ever exist. How resplendent the luminaries of knowledge that shine in an atom, and how vast the oceans of wisdom that surge within a drop. To a supreme degree, this true of man, who among all created things hath been invested with the robe of such gifts, and hath been singled out for the glory of such distinction. For in him are potentially revealed all the attributes and names of God, to a degree that no other created being hath excelled or surpassed. All these names and attributes are applicable to him, even as he hath said, Man is my mystery, and I am his mystery. Manifold are the verses that have been repeatedly revealed in all the heavenly books and the holy scriptures, expressive of this most subtle and lofty theme. Even as he hath revealed, we will surely show them our signs in the world and within themselves. See Al-Quran, Surah 41, 53. And again he saith, and also in your own selves. Will ye not then behold the signs of God? See Al-Quran, Surah 51, 21. And yet again he revealeth, and be ye not like those who forget God, and whom he hath therefore caused to forget their own selves. See Al-Quran, Surah 59, 19. In this connection, he who is the eternal King, may the souls of all that dwell within the mystic tabernacle be a sacrifice unto him, hath spoken, he hath known God, who hath known himself. I swear by God, O esteemed and honored friend, shouldst thou ponder these words in thine heart, thou wilt of a certainty find the doors of divine wisdom and infinite knowledge flung open before thy face. From that which hath been said, it becometh evident that all things in their inmost reality testify to the revelation of the names and attributes of God within them, each according to his capacity, indicateth and is expressive of the knowledge of God. So potent and universal is this revelation, that it hath encompassed all things visible and invisible. And thus hath he revealed, hath aught else save thee a power of revelation, which is not possessed by thee, and that it could have manifested thee. Blind is the eye which doth not perceive thee. Likewise hath the eternal King spoken, No thing have I perceived, except that I perceived God within it, God before it, or God after it. Also in the tradition of Kumail it is written, Behold, a light hath shone forth out of the morn of eternity, and lo, its waves have penetrated the inmost reality of all men. Are they talking about that Friday thing? Or once a year, or once in a lifetime? The Dua of Kumail? I've read it, but I'm not terribly familiar with its contents, other than it seems sound. Man, the noblest and most perfect of all created things, excelleth them all in the intensity of this revelation, and is a fuller expression of its glory. And of all men, the most accomplished, the most distinguished, and the most excellent are the manifestations of the Son of Truth. Nay, all else besides these manifestations live by the expression of their will, and move and have their being through the outpourings of their grace. But for thee I would have not created the heavens. Nay, all in their holy presence fade into utter nothingness, and are a thing forgotten. Human tongue can never befittingly sing their praise, and human speech can never unfold their mystery. These tabernacles of holiness, these primal mirrors, which reflect the light of unfading glory, are but expressions of him, who is the invisible of the invisibles. By the revelation of these gems of divine virtue, all the names and attributes of God, such as knowledge and power, sovereignty and dominion, mercy and wisdom, glory, bounty, and grace, are made manifest. These attributes of God are not and have never been vouchsafed specially unto certain prophets, and withheld from others. Nay, all the prophets of God, his well-favored, his holy, and chosen messengers, are, without exception, the bearers of his names, and the embodiments of his attributes. They only differ in the intensity of their revelation, and the comparative potency of their light, even as he hath revealed some of the apostles we have caused to excel the others. See Al-Quran, Surah 2, ayat 253. Of course, 285 shows that we do not invent distinctions between them, that we do not bring discriminations between them. So we could say legacy of the one or the other, but one's legacy depends on what they were told about another. So who are we to make these judgments? It hath therefore become manifest and evident that within the tabernacles of these prophets and chosen ones of God, the light of his infinite names and exalted attributes hath been reflected, even though the light of some of these attributes may or may not be outwardly revealed from these luminous temples to the eyes of men. That a certain attribute of God hath not been outwardly manifested by these essences of detachment doth in no wise imply that they, who are the daysprings of God's attributes and the treasuries of his holy names, did not actually possess it. Therefore these illuminated souls, these beauteous countenances have, each and every one of them, been endowed with all the attributes of God, such as sovereignty, dominion, and the like, even though to outward seeming they be shorn of all earthly majesty. To every discerning eye this is evident and manifest. It requireth neither proof nor evidence. Yea, inasmuch as the peoples of the world have failed to seek from the luminous and crystal springs of divine knowledge the inner meanings of God's holy words, they, therefore, have languished, stricken and sore athirst in the vale of idle fancy and waywardness. They have strayed far from the fresh and thirst-subduing waters, and gathered round the salt that burneth bitterly. Concerning them the dove of eternity hath spoken, and if they see the path of righteousness, they will not take it for their path, but if they see the path of error, for their path will they take it. This because they treated our signs as lies, and were heedless of them. See Al-Quran, Surah 7, 845. To this testifieth that which hath been witnessed in this wondrous and exalted dispensation. Myriads of holy verses have descended from the heaven of might and grace, yet no one hath turned thereunto, nor ceased to cling to these words of men, not one letter of which they have spoken them comprehend. Now, perhaps he can't find anybody that exactly agrees with his interpretation, so that's why he's putting out his interpretation on everything, that, oh, there's going to be something where these people conflict with me, but it's like, sometimes it depends on the psychological type of For this reason, the people have doubted incontestable truths such as these, and caused themselves to be deprived of the red divan of divine knowledge and the eternal meads of celestial wisdom. And now to resume our argument concerning the question, why is it that the sovereignty of the Qa'im, affirmed in the text of the recorded traditions and handed down by the shining stars of the Muhammadan dispensation, hath not in the least been made manifest, nay, the contrary hath come to pass? Have not his disciples and companions been afflicted of men? Are they not still the victims of the fierce opposition of their enemies? Look at how all, like 60 Muslim majority countries persecute people for being Muslim. Are they not today leading the life of abased and impotent mortals? Yea, the sovereignty attributed to the Qa'im and spoken of in the Scriptures is reality, the truth of which none can doubt. The sovereignty, however, is not the sovereignty which the minds of men have falsely imagined. Moreover, the prophets of old, each and every one, whenever announcing to the people of their day the advent of the coming revelation, have invariably and specifically referred to that sovereignty with which the promised manifestation must needs be invested. This is attested by the records of the Scriptures of the past. This sovereignty hath not been solely and exclusively attributed to the Qa'im. Nay, rather, the attribute of sovereignty and all other names and attributes of God have been and will ever be vouchsafed unto all the manifestations of God before and after him, inasmuch as these manifestations, as it hath already been explained, are the embodiments of the attributes of God, the invisible, and the revealers of the divine mysteries. Furthermore, by sovereignty is meant all-encompassing, all-pervading power, which is inherently exercised by the Qa'im, whether or not he appeareth to the world clothed in the majesty of the earthly dominion. This is solely dependent upon the will and pleasure of the Qa'im himself. It will readily recognize the terms sovereignty, wealth, life, death, judgment, and resurrection spoken of by the Scriptures of old are not what this generation hath conceived and vainly imagined. Nay, by the sovereignty is meant that the sovereignty in which every dispensation resideth within, and is exercised by the person of the manifestation, the day star of truth. That sovereignty is the spiritual ascendancy which he exerciseth to the fullest degree over that which is in the heavens and on the earth, and which is